But if the Broncos aren't able to land Budda Baker, is there the next Budda Baker in the draft right now, Henry?
So today we are talking about Antonio Johnson, the safety from Texas A&M. What do we have for size? I think 6'2", 198 was the combine size.
Yep.
4.52 in the 40-yard dash, 8 bench press reps. You know, there's plenty of reasons to be excited about him. Obviously, going to Texas A&M, you've got to be a pretty highly ranked recruit to do that.
He's a 4-star recruit.
4-star, yep. And he was very effective at Texas A&M. So you like the production. What you don't really love is that you don't know what position he plays. They bounce him around. Like, you could play him in the slot against some big slot corners or against slot receivers. You could probably play him at strong safety. But he doesn't have he doesn't have great ball skills, which is kind of weird. He was a receiver in high school. But doesn't get his hands on many balls. He's not a very fluid athlete. Doesn't turn well. And so, like, you think of Chris Harris all jittery in the slot. Antonio Johnson's not jittery. But if a tight end is flexed out there, he might be a good answer there. And so if you see him as a tight end cover guy and believe in like the length that could make him worth starting as a full-time safety, then you could justify the pick.
Yeah, exactly. And when I look at Antonio Johnson, Henry, who I see is K'Wan Williams, just all over, because Antonio Johnson, while listed as a safety and kind of profiles as a safety, he played a lot of slot corner at Texas A&M, specifically early on, and he was good. And where he excels, really, it's funny being a safety. You think a safety is the last line of defense, so always, very far from the line of scrimmage. He actually excels close to the line of scrimmage, and that's where he really does his best work because he's good in the running game. He's fine in the pass game, especially if it's closer to the line of scrimmage. So if you're dealing with a tight end that doesn't have much vertical speed, he's good there. In the slot, guys that aren't just going to burn past him, he's good there, good in the run game as well. And why I say he really reminds me of K'Wan Williams. K'Wan Williams is just a playmaker. He is just all over the field, always around the ball. And that's what Antonio Johnson is not in the air, though. Like, it's not like he's getting tons of interceptions. No, he's getting forced fumbles. He's getting sacks. He's getting tackles for a loss. And because of that, he was like an all-SEC player because of just his playmaking ability around the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage. And that's what K'Wan Williams is. Despite being like a slot corner, you don't think of those guys as being great in terms of run game, getting after guys around the line of scrimmage. And that's what Antonio Johnson is good at. So it would be, you'd be drafting kind of a specific niche player, and you kind of already have K'Wan this year. So if you viewed K'Wan as so valuable, then maybe you use a pick to find his replacement. But to me, if you just view him more as a K'Wan instead of, your full-time safety, and just don't really think he profiles as a great full-time every down safety because he does have some issues in coverage, specifically downfield.
And in college football, the slot job is just so much different. Like, so many teams are playing, they call it like the 4-2-5, but then they have the star or whatever they want to call the slot guy who's like a hybrid linebacker, safety, corner, and then just does everything. I mean, a lot like K'Wan Williams in some ways. And that's what Antonio Johnson does. But it also feels like a lot of those guys don't translate well to the NFL. Because, again, like, he does a really good job making plays in the backfield. He'll take on blockers and get to the running back, that sort of stuff. He's also a little under 200 pounds. So is he actually going to be able to do that in the NFL?
Right.
I don't know. Now, you also have the length that you like, and he likes to hit. And, again, very, very productive player. There's bust potential there. There's potential for him just to not really fit a job in the NFL. Because if he was, there's just so many of those guys. Like Isaiah Simmons was the same thing. It's like he's found a role. Like he's an NFL player, but you would think with his traits there would be a better job for him than there is in the NFL. That position just doesn't exist.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And K'Wan, he's a great player, and I think he was a fantastic pickup for the Broncos. He's making like $2 million.
Yep.
So the equivalent of $2 million in draft picks is not a third-round pick. That's like a 6th, 7th-round pick. So I think that safety could make sense drafting in the 3rd round with the right guy. Just don't know if he is the right guy, although he profiles to be a good complement to Justin Simmons. I just think he's way too much of he has to be close to the line of scrimmage to be how good he really is. So I don't think it would be the most sense, especially with the 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, like when you sub packages, there would be situations at the same time. So you go nickel though. Do you want him covering their slot receiver? You know, and you go around like the AFC West, for example. I guess Juju's gone from Kansas City, so we don't really know who their slot receiver is.
Sky Moore now? Is he an outside guy?
Maybe. Like that could be Sky Moore. Again, do you like that matchup? If you do, it's only because you really think Sky Moore is bad, which is fair. But if Sky Moore is even decent, you don't like that matchup at all.
Yeah, if you think he can get around him, then
exactly,
it's probably tough.
Like then you have Hunter Renfrow.
Yep.
Nope, that's not going to work.
Yep.
And then you have Keenan Allen. So again, like it's so. Then you look to like, okay, the dime packages. It's like, yeah, dime linebacker, he's got it because he's on a tight end, he's on a running back, whatever.
Right.
Is that worth a 3rd-round pick? Probably not.
Right.
Unless you think he really can be productive in another way.
And also on top of this, the Broncos do have Caden Stearns, and unless you're bringing in an All-Pro, Pro Bowl safety, then maybe it is time to let Caden have that shine. And Caden kind of profiles. I think he's a better cover guy than Antonio Johnson, but he is more of the bigger type of safety. So to me, just doesn't fully make sense unless you're upgrading the position drastically. Caden Stearns, you should get him his time. And I believe that's what the Broncos want to do.
Definitely. Caden Stearns is just kind of upgrade Antonio Johnson. Now, like we said, if Caden Stearns was your 3rd safety, that'd be awesome.
Right.
Because, again, this is the exact role that we were talking about for him. Is it worth drafting somebody to take that role? How much of an upgrade is he over PJ Locke?
Yeah.
K1 Williams still probably have him in the depth chart anyway, so you're not getting the nickel snaps. It probably isn't a good fit. Again, unless they really think he is Budda Baker and can play down hill that well.
And if anyone knows if he can be Budda Baker or close to him, it's probably Vance Joseph. So probably a good guy on your staff to have scout through that.